Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how to tell whether or not you have actually gained muscle tissue. So, whether you are in the middle of a bulk trying to put on some muscle tissue or about to start a bulk and you want to be certain that you are actually making the progress that you want to be, this video should help shine some light on how you can tell with the most degree of accuracy that we can hope for, which we'll get into in a bit, that you are actually gaining muscle tissue. So before we go into that, we'll sort of cover what your training and nutrition should look like in a sort of rough outline in order for you to have the best chance of knowing that you're gaining muscle tissue. So in regard to your nutrition, you're going to be looking for a calorie surplus of some description. There's a bit of argument as to how large this surplus should actually be. You will see some people online saying you should only go 200 calories over, as any more than that you're just going to gain obscene amounts of fat tissue, and there are people who fully believe in the gallon of milk a day and just bloat maxing until they are as big as their body can handle. Now, I'm of the belief that there's probably a bit to take from either of these, and from that we can decipher that we're probably going to be looking for around 500 calories in excess of our maintenance calories per day to start gaining around 0.5% of body weight per week or every 10 days or so on the way up. Now, this isn't an exact science. When you're a beginner, you're going to be able to gain muscle tissue at a slightly faster rate, and if your genetics allow, that's also going to allow you to gain muscle at a slightly faster rate. Some of you are going to accumulate fat tissue faster than others, and this, there's a lot of moving parts in this, but that 500 calories a day in excess, looking for that 0.5% gained per week or every 10 days is a great place to start. Now, with this, you also want to be training, and you want to be training in a way that is progressively overloaded. So week to week, you are beating your previous week's attempts either by adding some sets where possible, that's quite a drastic jump, adding reps to your working sets, or adding weight to your working sets over time. This progressively getting stronger across all the rep ranges that you're working in is going to be a great indicator for you as to whether or not you are gaining muscle tissue going forwards. Again, I'll cover that a little bit more as we go. And another thing that you should be looking for in the sort of longer term goal is being leaner at the same body weight that you are now, or a slightly higher body weight, which can be judged using calipers, DEXA, or simply photographs. And in that, you have got a pretty good idea that you are going to be gaining muscle tissue. Now, coming back to the training side of things, the progressively overloading of your training in all of your rep ranges is going to be something that you really, really want to index on. So if you are gaining significant amounts of body weight and you aren't getting stronger across all of your rep ranges, it's highly, highly unlikely that you are gaining muscle tissue, and instead you're probably accumulating quite a lot of fat tissue. Now, this can be through a variety of reasons, most of which I am not qualified to sort of diagnose or answer. If you are in a calorie surplus and you are training by your perception pretty hard, so anywhere in that sort of 2 to 3 reps away from failure range, and you aren't getting any stronger, so you aren't increasing the amount of weight on the bar, and you aren't increasing the amount of reps or sets that you're doing with a relatively standard technique across that, then there is definitely an issue there that you need to solve. What that issue is probably a question for somebody with a medical degree to answer, but that's definitely something to look out for. As I was saying before, the body weight increase we're looking for is around 0.5% of your body weight per week or every 10 days. The reason why we give this range is because anything more than that, you will gain more muscle tissue, but you will start to gain exponentially more fat tissue. So if you imagine the muscle tissue gain line as a sort of logarithmic curve, and then off the back of that, the fat gain curve is an exponential curve, and they meet at this sort of 0.5% a week mark, And from there, it starts to flatten out on the muscle gain side of things, and then the fat tissue gained becomes a lot more. Ways of telling whether or not you are gaining muscle tissue. So you do have DEXA scans and skin fold calipers. They are a tool. They aren't massively accurate. DEXA is going to be the most accurate, but they're quite expensive. And getting your DEXA done as you go is one way of doing it, but you would be more looking for your DEXA scan at 2 of the same body weight. So say when you initiate your bulk, and then once you finish your diet on the back end of that, when you're at the same body weight, comparing those 2 DEXA scans is going to give you a much better indicator as to whether or not you had actually gained and maintained muscle tissue. The skin fold caliper side of things, that will give you an idea. It requires a relatively skilled practitioner to do it correctly, and even then there's going to be quite a high degree of error in there. The easiest way for the layman to tell, or anybody who doesn't have access to the money for a DEXA scan or doesn't have access to a skilled skin fold practitioner, is to tell by photographs. So taking photographs, progress photos of yourself in relatively similar lighting the whole way through your journey, and then comparing the photos from when you started your bulk to where you have dieted back down and you're now at a similar body weight, and seeing whether or not you are now leaner at that body weight will be the best indicator as to whether or not you have actually gained muscle tissue throughout this process.